The no-seam fly. This is a tiny fly, almost considered a microfly. 3 simple materials, super easy and quick to tie, and fish simply love them. I'm starting with some black 6/0 thread, winding back from the hook eye down towards the shank, and because this is the biggest part of the body, you want to build a decent thread base with this black thread, winding all the way backwards. And I'm keeping the tail just to give some more depth underneath the wrapping itself, all the way to the back before I trim it. And I'll go back over this 2 or 3 times just to build up a decent base to give the body of this fly some of this black color. Trying to keep the color itself and the thread wrap fairly even and uniform, knowing that this will be seen throughout the rest of the fly. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I think as you take more time in this initial step, it leads to a better result in the end. Once you get to this point, this is some grizzly hackle, and I shaved off a few of the back part of the feathers towards the bottom of this just to give an area for the thread to attach to on the tail, and began wrapping it to attach it with a backward shaping angle. If you like these videos, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below. It makes a big difference as we make them. And share it with some friends. Let me know in the comments down below what you like about this particular fly or other flies that we're tying. Once you've connected this, you can begin to wrap this hackle itself to begin to form this towards the middle part of this body. I'm using some hackle pliers. You can use your fingers, and I tend to use my rotary vise to wrap hackle. I'm able to have a little bit better control, at least for my style. You can also just use the hackle pliers themselves, and you want to give 2 or 3 wraps of this to form this again towards the middle of the fly. Once you get a decent amount of wraps, you can tie off the front of this and cut off the remaining feathers itself. This is a time where I wish I had 3 hands or even 4 hands, because you have to hold this in the position you want and then at least get a wrap or 2 on this to secure it before you let go of the hackle itself. Keeping tension on the thread so that hackle doesn't move. And then once you get a few wraps on there, you're safe to release some of the tension. And you'll trim off the front part of this hackle that isn't needed after those 2 to 3 wraps. And then finish securing the front part of that. And you're gonna take this hackle itself and pull it upwards, and we're gonna put some wraps on it, almost what you would do with a parachute, because you want this to stick straight up, and we'll fan it out at the end, but you don't want any poking down below. So with your fingers holding it up, you're gonna put some wraps in the front, some wraps around the back to try to get this hackle itself to stand straight up above the fly itself. I got pretty close. I had a few stragglers that I trimmed off with some scissors, but once you get it attached, sticking straight up, you're gonna put a few more wraps towards the front. And then you want the hackle itself to fan out a little bit. So you'll see I'm taking the thread and weaving it through so that it doesn't sit uniform, but kind of splays out a little bit more naturally. And a few more attaching loops. I took my scissors and trimmed off these little stragglers down below. This is some olive yarn, and I wanted this to be a little bit more of a high vis type of no-see-um, so I put some of this towards the front. You can use any color that would maybe bring a little bit more attention to the front of this fly. And so I took this, tied it on with a few loops, and then reattach it towards the front, and we'll trim it at the very end. Once you're happy with it, grab your whip finisher, and we're gonna put 2 to 3 final attaching knots at the front of this fly right behind the hook eye. You can trim off the final piece of this thread, and then you can trim the yarn to fit and match the length of the hackle on the top part. Then you can play with it a little bit to make it integrate and sit how you want. And there's the no-see-um, this microfly, super fast to fly. You can knock out a number of these once you get your materials out in a very, very short amount of time, and they simply catch fish. I hope you enjoyed this one. I'll see you on the next one. Happy tying.